Welcome into my ASVAB party, people. I'm Coach Anderson, and if you're at this point in time feeling a little frustrated with the way that your studying's been going, feeling like the effort that you put in isn't really matching the success that you receive, then this is the perfect video for you. In this video, we're going to be going over the do's and don'ts of effective studying. That way you can conquer your ASVAB anxiety, and then you'll look at the top study strategies for success and transform that pressure into performance to get that score that you deserve at MEPS. So go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel if you want to see more of this, but let's go ahead and dive on in. Let's taste the ASVAB. So let's go ahead and start off with the number one do in terms of your study habits. So number one, you do want to stick to one topic at a time. This is the first and honestly most important thing that you need to understand when it comes to studying. When you focus your studying, you get to tackle one topic at a time, build confidence in that one topic at a time, and you'll be able to retain the information for much longer because you're focusing in this realm, you're conversating about it, you're allowing yourself the time to struggle and overcome. That way, again, your body and brain naturally adapt as time goes on. So again, being able to master one subject before advancing to the next one, this ensures a thorough understanding and better retention. And that's what we want. We don't want to put ourselves in a position to go take the test and then feel like we forget everything right when we get there. It happens to everybody, probably happened to you, but it doesn't have to be that way. So again, number one, make sure to stick to one topic at a time. So for example, if you're working on proportions, stick to that before trying to do equations or trying to do distance rate time. All right, one topic at a time. Now, number two, we do want to start studying early, but more importantly, often. We want to start studying early and regularly because if you begin your preparation well in advance, you'll be able to study regularly to build that solid knowledge base without all that cramming stress. Have you ever noticed that when you cram, sure, you might remember maybe 30% of the information, maybe one day after, but beyond that, it's like everything just disappears. And that's the downside of cramming. One, you don't have a true understanding of what's going on. And two, well, you forget the information very quickly. So if you start early and often, consistency being your ally, you'll put yourself in a position to not only do what you need to do to get that score you want, but to build a skill set of problem solving well beyond. Because the truth is, a daily study routine can lead to lasting knowledge, and it does. And as someone who has been teaching for over 10 years and who has a master's degree in education, trust me, this is advice you want to take. Now, number three, we want to be able to practice for speed and accuracy. Because on the real test, you're being timed, you're under pressure. You want to be able to perform under pressure and show what you know. Freezing, test anxiety, freaking out, faster breathing, moving your leg a lot. All of those things really showcase test anxiety. But if you practice early and often and you practice for speed and accuracy, this is going to give you an opportunity to practice how you play. And we all know that if you practice like you play every single day, you'll succeed, you'll win. So with that said, we want to make sure that we practice like it's the real deal to enhance the speed and precision. We want to be able to work under that timer, but we also want to make sure that we can justify and be confident that we know what we're doing. So we want you to work on solving problems swiftly without sacrificing accuracy so you can beat the ASVAB's time constraints. And remember, if you have a bunch of easy questions, well, it's great to answer those as quickly as possible. That way you can give yourself more time for those harder questions down the road. Everyone is going to get at least a couple of hard questions. So you want to give yourself a chance to get those harder questions right with more time by dominating those easier questions. And so if at this point you're sitting here saying, okay, coach, I get it. I want to study for speed and accuracy. I want to study early and often. I want to do all of these things, including sticking to one topic at a time. Coach, I don't have materials. What am I supposed to do? So if you're looking for solid study materials that will take you from where you are to where you need to be, I would definitely say start off with our free materials, like our free practice test that has video solutions, which also includes an invitation to a free online ASVAB Zoom class once a week. And beyond that, you'll be able to see more content and resources that we have available to you. And if you've already engaged with that, then it's time to make the jump to the ASVAB All Access program. This program has everything you need from beginning to end, and it will guarantee your success if you follow the plan. It's as easy as attending classes if you're available or watching those recordings. Beyond that, you'll have the chance to access 24/7 available courses that give you a chance to go through guided practice videos, worksheets, speed drills, And on top of that, checkpoints that test your knowledge base in each and every individual topic. I'm not talking about word knowledge, math knowledge, arithmetic reasoning. I'm talking about proportions, distance, rate, time, solving equations, being able to master each individual topic and see a check mark certifying that. That's the best way to build your confidence and know that you'll be ready when the test time comes. So again, feel free, check out the link below, sign up for the ASVAB All Access program and see if there's a little discount code to help you out. So we just got done going through the ASVAB do's in terms of effective studying. Now let's go ahead and talk about the don'ts. And there are the don'ts that you definitely don't want to do. So number one, we want to make sure that we don't rely on practice test scores. This is the biggest thing. So many times I would come across individuals who ask for my help and they say, hey, Coach Anderson, I went ahead and took a practice test. I got a 54. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm going to take my test next week. And then they take the test. Turns out they got a 17. That happens a lot. So if it's happened to you, don't be too distraught about it. This is something that happens way too often. And this is because the actual ASVAB and the practice tests that you see online are graded very differently. A lot of the times, the practice tests that you see are just graded on how many you got correct over the total number. But the actual ASVAB is actually much more than that. The actual ASVAB is graded based off of how well you do compared to the others who took that version of the test. So it's a percentile. You're basically competing against other people. So that means we need to be able to do the easy things very, very well and very, very quickly, but we want to give ourselves the advantage of being able to do the moderate and harder questions. So remember, while useful, practice tests, they're not a complete strategy. The best you can do with a practice test is see what topics you need to work on. But the practice tests don't exactly help you work on the weak areas. Again, they help you identify them. Again, practice tests don't make you better in your weaker areas. They help you identify them. And so that's why it's so important to use the practice tests to review every single question. Even the questions that you got right, you want to review. Because if you got it right, you want to be sure that you can get it right again. So with practice tests, again, do not rely on the score, rely on the questions and the solutions to use them as a guide and not to gauge your progress. You want to use them as a guide on how to move forward from where you are. And that leads us to the don't number 2. Look, don't just memorize practice questions. And you tell me if this sounds like you. Have you ever been in a situation where you memorized a couple of questions and you hoped and wished that they would be on the test? Sound familiar? Well, it happens to everyone, and I don't want this to happen to you. Remember, you are not guaranteed to see the same exact questions from your practice and your studying on the actual test. Remember that understanding and comprehension, that trumps memorization any and every single day of the week. We want to understand what we're doing because when we see the same question with a couple of adjustments in terms of the wording or the situation, we'll still be able to see behind that curtain of words to see the concept and exactly how to get it done. Remember, we can ask the same question a million different ways, and that's why it's important to understand these concepts and not just memorize questions. Because if we switch one little thing up and you memorized, well, guess what? Your grade in the gutter. So we want to understand the why behind these questions. We want to grasp the concepts behind the questions so that way we can apply that knowledge flexibly. We don't want to be in a position where we only know one way to do one problem. Knowing multiple ways shows confidence, it shows growth, and it shows a deep comprehension that will turn into memory. And memory and understanding and confidence is what we're looking for. So again, number 2, don't just memorize practice questions. We want to understand them. And number 3, this one's pretty obvious to everybody, but don't procrastinate. Don't procrastinate. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. If you were to wake up every single day and someone said, hey, go ahead and take one step towards success or take a step backwards. If that was presented to you on a silver platter every single day, anybody that's reasonable would say, I want to succeed. Let's take one more step. But the sad reality is we're human and not everybody sees it that way. When it comes to the ASVAB, remember that you are fighting and competing with other people for a career, the career of your choice. So I hope it's safe to say and assume that that's something that you want to put a little more attention to. You want to put a little more attitude towards, a little more passion in there. Because if you don't, well, guess what? Someone else is in line trying to take that spot. This is a competition. The early bird gets the worm. So start studying now so you can avoid the last minute scramble. Remember, doing that last minute cramming, that never works out. Never does. So make sure that you give yourself the best chance to do your best. Going and studying regularly with incremental prep, focusing on one topic at a time. That always, 100% of the time, leads to better results and it lowers your anxiety. And if that's what you want to do, then hey, go ahead. Follow these plans here. This is going to be amazing for you. I'm Coach Anderson. I want you to succeed just like any other mentor and person who's right there rooting for you in your life. I've got your back every step of the way until you pass. So make sure to follow this channel for more. And on top of that, check out the resources that we offer because they're proven, they've been used by thousands of students, and we've helped them all ace the ASVAB. You're next. With that said, I'll see you in the next video, my ASVAB party people. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.